Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to take a look at the astrological energies from July 27th until August 3rd, where we have a lot of energy and movement over this next week. We will have Jupiter station retrograde at 8 degrees of Aries on July 28th, the same day as the Leo new moon. We're also going to see Mars make the conjunction with Uranus and the North Node at 18 degrees of Taurus as August begins and gets underway. We also have Mercury entering Virgo over this next week, and we'll see the Sun in Leo square the Taurus solar eclipse point that happened at 10 degrees of Taurus back in late April. So this is really a big, powerful time as we close out July, move into August. Energies are picking up. There is a lot of change, but the tricky thing is that we also have very strong fixed sign energy. The fixed signs are Taurus, and we currently have Uranus, Mars, and the North Node in Taurus. Leo, where we have the Sun and Mercury in Leo. Scorpio, where we have the South Node, and Aquarius, where we currently have Saturn. So the strong energy of the fixed signs shows us where we have been relying upon parts of our lives to be consistent. We've needed parts of our own energies to be stable and strong and be firmly rooted in what is known or what we can count on. Yet these are the energies that are deeply changing, and it's being strongly activated not only by Uranus conjunct the North Node, but now we have Mars entering the conversation. So there are going to be some big things coming through over the next week that are ultimately meant to move us forward, even if it feels like a push, an uncomfortable push, even if it feels like something out of your control or that you wouldn't choose. If you go higher up into the energy streams, we can tap into the potential and belief that whatever is changing right now for you, especially at an individual level, is right on time. Even if it's a surprise, unexpected, shocking, there's something about this particular time in the energy that we're meant to ultimately feel supported in ourselves, meaning feeling very strong in who you are, as well as your co-creation with the universe on an ongoing basis, even amongst the upheavals, even during the big transitions and inconveniences, even during the parts of our lives that we thought would stay the same, yet it's all changing in some manner. These are the energies that we're in, that we've been in, and this is going to be a time period for us to remain in our strength and confidence that we are ultimately working with the universe to co-create a new experience of our lives in the particular timeline that maybe has been accelerated, meaning maybe things are coming together even faster than what you expected, and that's where there's overwhelm. Maybe things happen suddenly, or something just all of a sudden breaks through, or there's that release point, or it opens up. The energies are meant to be cracking open at this time to show us what can be developed going forward. So even though this is happening in the fixed signs that typically resist change, the fixed signs don't want things to change until you choose it and until you're ready to choose it. But this is on the universe's timeline, which means this is divine timing. And we talk about that a lot. We throw out that phrase, and there could be things that are happening in divine timing, even if it's abrupt and disruptive to the human energies or to our human timing. So when we have these big energy cycles coming through, we can be very strong mentally in our trust, in our belief, in our emotional selves, that this is happening for the best and highest good, even when you can't see it yet, even when you're not certain on what there's to count on, or even when it seems like it's impossible to know how this could all come together. And as I mentioned previously, the energy is similar to an eclipse. So this is not an eclipse, but it is the same energy signature where there are changes happening and they're meant to propel us forward. This could also mean that it requires more time and effort to ground yourself, to come back into your breath, your body, to feel your feet on the earth, and to steady yourself with what you know is true for you, with what you know is accurate for you. And keep in mind that what is true for us always stays with us, even when it changes shape or changes form. And this is where the universe could be bringing you in something that looks completely different, but in fact, it is a better energy fit. So we are entering a very dynamic month in August where the energies will continue to be disruptive and big until the middle of August especially. So just to keep in mind that these are energies that everyone is feeling at some level of their being, and that can make people more erratic, irrational, agitated. There could be more little triggers that come up when the energies are this big, when they're pulsing through us and we're feeling it, but we're not always clear on what we're feeling. So certainly give yourself grace, pass that on to others, give people their time and their space if they're moving through bigger energies, and just know that there can be exciting opportunities here to co-create with the universe what you're building or desiring in your life. And that is where we are always in our strength and our power, when we tune in to that level of ourselves and of our deep knowingness. Now, over this next week, as I said, a lot is happening, and we have the Leo new moon on July 28th, the same day that Jupiter stations retrograde at 8 degrees of Aries. In fact, Jupiter reaches nearly 9 degrees of Aries when it stations retrograde. And as Jupiter stations retrograde, that is the slowdown of the energy. Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, and it wants us to have joy, happiness, ease. Jupiter brings in beneficial developments, resources, opportunities, invitations. And in Aries, it's the energy of knowing yourself now. Who am I now? What is important to me? What am I basing my energy on? Jupiter in Aries is helping us understand more of who we are at this time, especially after the very big changes we've been through on the planet, and also bringing us back to really fostering joy in ourselves, confidence in ourselves, and the ability to do what we need to do with a sense of independence. Jupiter in Aries can be very independent, where you're not afraid to go your own way or do your own thing. There's things that just call to you, that speak to you. It's resonating at a very deep level, lifts you up, and you can just feel that momentum of what you want to create and move towards next. So as this Jupiter stations retrograde, it's essentially standing in place. And I always see this as an amplification of the energy, where Jupiter can get bigger and bigger and exaggerate. Jupiter will exaggerate, it will overdo it, stretch itself too far. So you want to be mindful of that in yourself, around where your energy is going right now, and make sure that you're remaining conscious in your choices and self-aware in what you're choosing and where you're directing yourself to go. Jupiter is going to retrograde back to 28 degrees of Pisces. So it's actually going to cover the first decan of Aries again, re-enter Pisces in October, and go back to 28 and 29 degrees of Pisces, which are the very last degrees of the zodiac wheel. And so this is where we are gaining clarity on what is truly us. Meaning you could have felt like a lot has been lifting you up and moving you forward since Jupiter entered Aries back in May. And now there is an integration period where we call the energies back into us and think about it with greater self-awareness. I started this thing. Is it still what I want? I moved in this direction. Is it still true for me? This is what I've been focusing on and developing for my own personal interests. Am I still interested in it? So as Jupiter is in retrograde, we pull the energies back into ourselves and really listen to ourselves now, where there is more of an internal process where we check in with what we truly want and desire. And how this feels could be interesting because maybe you've had some false starts, meaning some things that got underway and then it only went so far and you were kind of like, nah, it's not really what I want anymore. And so this can be used for truly determining what is worth your time, energy, and effort. And as Jupiter, again, goes back into Pisces, the last 2 degrees of the zodiac, there's more completions, there's more release and things that we're clearing out that maybe we missed the first time, but we go back into Pisces, which is also the energy of reconnecting with your higher self, reconnecting with your own spiritual wisdom to make sure that you're really listening. It's almost like the universe is saying, okay, with whatever you want to create next or start next or initiate, let's make sure it's truly in alignment with your soul growth in this lifetime. And let's make sure that it's also in alignment with what you've determined is worth your commitment and responsibility. And that's because whenever Jupiter is in Aries, it begins a whole new 12-year cycle. So what we're starting this year and in 2023 is meant to continue to grow, build, flourish, and develop over the next 12 years. And so I feel like because this Aries energy can be so impulsive and so in the moment, I feel like Jupiter retrograding back into Pisces returns us into the beautiful void of potential, the void of pure possibilities, where we have more opportunities to be mindful of how to create in a way that's in alignment with more of your truth and more of your belief systems and your needs and what you really want to bring to life in this lifetime. So as always, we can use these energies to enhance our own experiences as well as to raise our own consciousness in this lifetime. So as this Jupiter stations retrograde and is essentially pulsing and standing still, there's an amplification of energies that maybe you're going to realize something for yourself. You're going to realize a truth that hits you at a gut level, because that Aries energy being so in the moment is going to bring you a quick message, and it could be so quick that you might miss it or you might doubt it. So keep that in mind, that is a strong energy signature over this next week. Now we also have the Leo new moon, and I have a separate video for you on YouTube discussing that chart more intensely. But this is a new moon where the sun and the moon in Leo meet up at nearly 6 degrees. They will be trining this Jupiter in Aries, stationing retrograde. So we have movement, a lot of fire, creativity, inspiration, motivation. We have a lot burning within us. We have desires and things we want to do and move towards. And so this is energy to make the most of, to truly look at what excites you, what brings you life, and where you want to direct the energy going forward. Where you have 6 degrees of Leo in your natal chart is where this new moon is planting these intentions of growth and development. And in Leo, it's very much about how you want to express yourself. What brings you to life? What lights up your energy field? And I feel like this is the energy too of how you're here to shine, where you're just meant to shine even in your own sense of self, because that Leo energy at times can be looking for an audience. It can be the performer, the entertainer, look at me, watch me. But truly, when you evolve the Leo energy, it's about simply shining as is. It's simply being in that place of courageously knowing your own energy and bringing it with you wherever you go, regardless of who's around, regardless of who's watching or not watching. It's about that strength in your own light. And that's part of what Leo is teaching us. And it's also important to note that the sun is in its home sign of Leo. So the sun is even stronger at this time, meaning the neutrinos from the sun, the light codes, the downloads, the energy streaming into our planet are even more powerful. And so how do you want to integrate that? How do you want to integrate this part of your energy field into greater wholeness so that you're truly aware of even more of your energy, where the sun in Leo can shine a light on any parts of yourself you've been holding back, any parts of yourself you haven't brought to life or recognized in yourself. So during Leo season, what are you ready to recognize in yourself? And to do so with confidence and love for yourself, which can be very healing, especially if these are parts of yourself that you have repressed or held back, or you felt shame around, or guilt, or you didn't know how to be this version of yourself in the world. I feel like this Leo season is really activating more of our own energies that have been dormant. And that's because, again, going back to how the energies this week are very dynamic and very active, there's a sense here of bringing yourself to life. How are you bringing energy into your world that lights you up, inspires you, motivates you? And this could simply be looking at what you do every day, or even understanding your own energy and maybe noticing what's missing or what you want to incorporate or bring in to your world. So Leo season gives us that courage to do so because you're coming from a very authentic place in yourself. And so that is part of the Leo journey, where at first you can do things for attention or because others expect you to show up or perform in a certain way. Leo can be a mask, the mask you wear in front of the audience, or what you do because it's how you thought other people would recognize you or see you. But as the energy evolves and as you evolve in your own consciousness and self-knowingness, those things fall away. You don't need that mask. You don't need the false performances. You don't need others to recognize you on false pretenses. No, you're lighting up from within, and this is where it takes courage to be ourselves, our authentic selves, and to know that that's all that we're here to do. And the other thing about Leo season is that because Leo is very much about how we feel loved and seen, you could start to see some patterns in yourself that you've unconsciously perpetuated around how you thought you had to be in order to be loved. Even at unconscious levels when you were younger, where maybe you did really good at school or you excelled at a certain sport and you were recognized and rewarded for that. And so that felt good and that felt very validating to where you were strong and at your best. But the Leo energy also wants you to shine a light on all of who you are, all parts of yourself that maybe, again, you thought you shouldn't show others or you shouldn't let people see you when you are vulnerable or when you aren't at your best. But this is where we're learning that all parts of us are here to be loved and accepted, but it starts with you, meaning it's your responsibility to love and accept those parts of yourself. It's nobody else's responsibility. It's nobody else's perception that even counts at the end of the day, unless that's what you're tied up in. And so the Leo energy can show you where your energy goes out of yourself to be recognized, where your energy goes out to be validated, where your energy goes out to be loved. And this can be a time when it's coming to your awareness, to pull that back in, not allow that to be something determined outside of you, but rather to allow that to be something that you develop and strengthen on your own terms, because that's truly all you need. And I feel too like part of what we're feeling over this next week is impatience around some of these themes, where that's where you could feel, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that for them anymore. I'm not going to step into their expectations of me. I'm not going to be an animal in this circus. Or there's all these things that you could have coming up that are making you realize what you've been doing because you thought there was some kind of reward or payoff or energetic exchange that was worth it. And it feels like now it's like, no, it's not even worth it to me anymore. And this is part of what we're sensing within. So strong Leo energies, and then the strong Taurus energies of Mars making an exact conjunction to Uranus and the North Node at 18 degrees of Taurus amps up what we're truly wanting and feeling, because that Mars in Taurus is typically very calm, determined, steady. That's a Mars in Taurus that will get to the end of the project, see something through, but will be very clear in the steps and look for a steadiness in the pace. But as we move into August, the pace picks up and there's a lack of steadiness, because again, this is disruptive energy. So you could feel like parts of yourself are breaking out, breaking free. And this is where you could have that energy rising up that could be an outburst, that could be really impatient. You could connect with something within yourself that you didn't know was there. Meaning you could have a situation arise that really makes you angry. You get really pissed off. And it's because there's something happening within you that's showing you what you're done with. You're complete with it. It doesn't work for you anymore. You're not into it, not feeling it. It's not you. And I feel like this is where the energies can be very alive and very clear, where the energy is giving you a very clear message of this is no longer a fit. Granted, this is going to show up in so many ways for so many people, so I'm just describing the general energy trend. But there's something here that you're meant to bust out of, even if it's simply within yourself, within your own consciousness, within your own mind or your own emotional experiences. You could come to something this week where you're saying, I don't ever want to go through this process again within myself. I'm ready for change. I'm ready to do it differently. And this is where the energy could set you off on a whole new growth trajectory. Now, keep in mind, Mars and Uranus conjunct the North Node is about where we're going next. It can feel like foreign terrain. It can feel like the energies that have not been discovered. You're moving into new places in yourself or in your life. There's something opening up and you haven't been there before. So that's part of the uncertainty, and that can be a big deal for these fixed sign energies, is that there is something new, but it's not fully known. And the fixed signs want to know, what am I doing? Where is this going? Where is this headed? What can I count on? But this is not energy that we can count on. So it's an important time right now to take care of your nervous system, to take care of your emotional body, to also tune into your fears. What am I fearing in this situation? What is this triggering in me? What's coming up here that feels potentially big and overwhelming? What is it? And as you go through that process and perhaps dig into something, remember that God is right there with you. The divine, the universe is right there with you. You're not alone. You don't even have to figure it all out on your own. But I feel like this is a cycle that is requiring us to not only accelerate, but we're also switching timelines. We're moving in a new trajectory. We're moving in to new experiences. And as we go through these timeline shifts, which we've been doing, especially last eclipse season, that means we're moving into new parts of ourselves and other parts of ourselves are falling away. There's no longer an energetic resonance or connection. And you could see that or feel that in yourself, that there's things that you're moving into that are new, perhaps very exciting, even if they're unknown. But this is a huge demonstration of your growth in this lifetime. This is how you have evolved and ascended, where you can now step into these new experiences and move towards something that perhaps you've always wanted or desired. And that is the energy signature of Taurus, where it's about what do you really need in your life? What really matters to you in order to build and live a meaningful life? And so we're having some changes in what we want, in where we want to go, in how we understand ourselves, and also feel strong in our own values. So this is a big energy, and just keep in mind that people will be going through it in different ways and at different levels of consciousness. This could be something where somebody gets really mad and yells and slams the door and leaves, and that's that. It kind of has that very big expression to it. But this is also where we can be more mindful in what we're expressing and saying and how we're making our choices, and ultimately in how we're using our energies. So the big energy days are July 28th and then again August 1st and 2nd. And those are essentially the days when things can be the biggest or the loudest. But in general, I feel these energies are unfolding as we close out July and move into August. Now, we also have an interesting journey this week with Mercury in Leo, as Mercury in Leo is going to square Uranus in Taurus at 18 degrees on July 28th, then oppose Saturn retrograde in Aquarius at 22 degrees on July 30th. Mercury in Leo tends to be very clear in what it likes, what it wants to say. Mercury in Leo is wonderful at self-expression, especially in a creative form. And so as this Mercury squares Uranus and opposes Saturn, there's something coming through that is surprising news, that is unexpected. Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, I didn't know that. Or there's more to the story. So there are surprises this week with information, communications, ideas, projects, things that are going to change tracks or change gears. They're going to move in a different direction. Maybe they're course correcting, or maybe there's a new option. But after Mercury squares Uranus in Taurus, which is also interacting with the North Node and South Node, then Mercury opposes Saturn at 22 degrees of Aquarius, July 30th, and that is a standstill. So it's almost like a lot could come up around July 28th, July 29th. Keep in mind, that's also the Leo new moon. And then you just need time to process by the end of the month. Give me some space, give me some breathing room. I need to go into my process and think this through. And that's one of the best ways to use Mercury opposing Saturn, which can be challenging and tough because it could feel like you have to figure something out on your own and you don't want to disappoint people. You don't want to let them down, or you feel the responsibility or commitment to what they want or what they need from you. So there could be something here where you're evaluating expectations that people have of you or what they want from you. And that's what's changing, where you could even bust out of that and say, hey, I can only do so much in a day. I can only carry so much, or I've got clarity on what I need to do. And please note that I'm making this decision for me. And this is important to be aware of, that just because you're making a good decision for you, it doesn't mean it's anti-them or against them. So for example, if it's pro-you, it doesn't necessarily mean it's anti-them or anti the other. You're just making choices around what is best, what is clear, what you need to do. And this can create turbulence after you declare perhaps or state something. That's what Mercury in Leo does well. And there could then be the bigger conversations that come up or unfold after you make that declaration. And this is where, again, it can get a little choppy, where there's things that aren't as clear cut as you'd like, or there's more that comes up, or other opinions, ideas, things that people want or need. And this is where there's time needed to sit with things, figure it out, work it out. But keep in mind that what we're moving through is meant to show us what stays and what goes. And even as this Mercury in Leo interacts with Uranus and the North Node, it's also interacting with the South Node. And that South Node in Scorpio is where we've been moving through some big emotional experiences, where we're going into our own internal dungeons, our shadow self, looking at where we still harbor any resentment, fears, emotional baggage, things that potentially and ultimately take us out of our power. This can also show us where energies are incomplete in relationships, where you're moving through something that perhaps came up during eclipse season, and now it's moving through you in a different way, in a newer way. I almost see it as the water starting to run clear, where maybe something felt very like muddy and heavy and just a lot of kind of, let's say, dirt around it. But as you've worked through it and you've gone into some things in yourself, the energy lightens up, it loosens up, and then it starts to run clearer. And I feel like that's part of what we're moving through, is not only clearing out those energies in ourselves, but clearing out commitments and responsibilities we have to others that now just weigh us down. There's something about a weightedness here, where you could even check in on your own energy and look at where you make a decision and feel relief and feel lighter and feel like, oh boy, that's so good to have that off my shoulders or off my desk. I don't want to manage that. I don't want to take that on. I don't really want to be responsible for that anymore. That's part of where we are breaking out this week, is that there could be something that comes to your awareness where you're understanding, I don't need this in my energy anymore. It's no longer what truly resonates. And in Leo season, it does come back to the heart. It comes back to your personal power, your sense of self. So you could simply energetically check in with your heart chakra, your solar plexus, and look at if what you're doing truly lights you up, or if you're realizing these are the parts of your life that are ready for changes because you just don't want to go on this way. You don't want to carry this energy forward anymore. You can actively claim that everything is changing and shifting for your best and highest good, even if you don't know what that is exactly yet, or you don't see it. This is how you co-create actively with the universe, where you pull in those higher vibrations while you're in the strength of your own power and of your own energy, and you're co-creating in a way that honors who you are now, what you've been through, what you've come to understand about yourself. And now there is almost like this energetic requirement from the universe to reflect back to you what you're ready for and what you're moving towards. So again, very dynamic energies, very big cycles, and we have to stay grounded, breathe through it, remain in a beautiful place of trust in a process, and understand that we always have choices around our mindset, our belief systems, and what we are consciously focusing on. As the sun continues to move through Leo, it will not only have the Leo new moon, as we discussed, which happens on July 28th. We'll then see the sun in Leo exactly trine Jupiter retrograde in Aries at 8 degrees on July 30th and 31st. So essentially, the sun in Leo is in a longer conversation with Jupiter in Aries. And because this is expansive energy, there is something you could feel growing within you, growing and developing. Perhaps it's even strengthening your courage and confidence to do something new or different. This is beneficial energy. This is forward moving. It's creative, motivating. That's almost like something could be coming alive in you that you're really feeling and sensing even more. And I think that's part of what the Leo new moon is birthing. New parts of ourselves, new starts, what we want to take forward, and the ongoing connection to Jupiter retrograde in Aries is expansive. Yes, it can exaggerate, and there can be things coming up that can even be too much at first. But I feel like what we're understanding is that we're working with more light than ever before. And I've mentioned that now for a number of months. We now can hold more light. And what do you want to do with it? How do you want to open up to it? How are you fully embodying it, embracing it? And what does that mean for you? So you could identify where this Jupiter at 8 degrees of Aries is in your chart, whichever house it's at. That's where Jupiter is expanding you, wanting you to grow and develop. And then the energies in Leo, you would identify where you have between 6 to 9 degrees of Leo in your chart. And that's what you're also learning to own, to powerfully own your light, your gifts, your creativity, your self-expression, and it feels very empowering. So there's something too about this week that really wants you to remain in a place of full ownership over your unique creative spark, really being in your life force and looking at what you want to take forward. There's also a checking in point as the Sun in Leo squares the Taurus solar eclipse that we had in late April. So late April, there was the Taurus solar eclipse at 10 degrees, and now the Sun in Leo squares it as it reaches the midpoint of the eclipse cycle here and is showing you what is in alignment. So do you see how we have this ongoing dance between the Leo and Taurus energies right now? That's a very strong energy signature that keeps coming up, and it's essentially connecting you with your heart, your power, your values, your needs. And there also could be something that you're assessing now that started in late April of this year, and now you're checking in on that. How is that moving forward? How is that coming along? If you even need a reminder of what that eclipse was about, please check out my video on YouTube about that Taurus solar eclipse, which was very significant because the sun and moon were conjunct Uranus at 14 degrees of Taurus. And we also had that strong Pisces influence where Venus was conjunct Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. So we're looking at how far we have moved through various energies since April 30th and checking in with our heart, with what we really want. Again, what brings us life, what expands us, what opens us up, and to remain in that vibration going forward. Now, for all this very energizing masculine energy that we have in play, there are also some energies here that are meant to soften us. Specifically, Venus in Cancer is going to be sextiling Uranus, Mars, and the North Node in Taurus at 18 degrees as August begins. So Venus in Cancer begins to work with these Taurus energies starting August 1st, August 2nd, August 3rd. And Venus in Cancer is soft, kind, compassionate. She needs her alone time. She can be more introverted, and she's also wanting to be supportive and helpful. So this could be an energy where a feminine individual or a feminine energy signature comes in to help support the transitions and changes that are going on. Venus in Cancer also is going to bring you back into what do you need? What do you truly need in order to feel good, to feel safe, to feel clear, and to also know yourself? So this can be a time of understanding that with everything happening and perhaps a lot of uncertainty, it's important to have a quiet place to retreat to even more. And that's where you're going to tune in to messages that truly support your emotional self, your needs, what you want, even where you can feel your energy relax a bit. So if there's a lot of tension, that Venus in Cancer wants us to relax and do something nurturing. I also feel like this is an energy of maintaining your balance, where if there's a lot happening in the masculine energies, balance it with your feminine intuition, tapping into what you're sensing and feeling, allowing yourself to listen and to receive. So this can help with understanding where we're not meant to move something forward or to push it forward. Venus in Cancer has flow and trust, and there's support when she's in that state. So I feel like this is where we're learning how to moderate our energies and just trust what we're feeling. If you're feeling like you need a break, give yourself a break. If you're feeling like you don't want to deal with something that's front and center, trust that. Trust that it's okay to step away or step back, and that you don't have to figure it all out in the moment. We discussed how Mercury in Leo is very active over this next week, making these interactions with the planets in Taurus and then opposing Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, while also squaring the South Node in Scorpio. So a very active Mercury. Again, this is where there could be big announcements, big developments. Even what's coming to mind is like a project manager saying that they're leaving their job, and that throws everything up into a tailspin, because now it's about, well, who's going to lead the next project? Who's going to be responsible for this? Who's going to take this on? So it's that kind of energy where you have people declaring what they need and what they want next, and then the ramifications of that could be quite jarring. But then we're going to have Mercury enter Virgo on August 3rd, and Mercury does very well in Virgo. So this is going to be a transition into problem solving. Mercury enters Virgo and is an analyst, very meticulous and particular. Mercury in Virgo focuses on the hows, how to solve something, how to do something, how to be effective, how to work with what we've got. So this is a grounding energy in Virgo, and it's focused on problem solving, solutions, efficiency, what is a better process to put into place here. So this is going to help with next steps. So whatever comes up here, the end of July into the beginning of August, Mercury in Virgo is then going to bring us back to what we can manage, what's in front of us, the state of what is, meaning Mercury in Virgo is very much about this is what it is. This is the budget. This is the deadline. This is the project. This is the result we want. And so how do we get there? How do we make it happen? And this is going to help with figuring out things that have come up, and also understanding how to move forward, how to be productive, how to make some realistic assessments around the state of a situation, and also how to not be overwhelmed by it all, because the energies are very big, and the Virgo energy will simplify and focus on these are the two things we can get done today. So Virgo helps us step away from the overwhelm when it's a grounded and clear Virgo energy, and we look at what we can manage, what we can handle, and to then put the rest over there, to put the rest on the back burner, or to not take it all on, especially if your emotional body or nervous system is already overloaded. So this feels like a supportive energy that's coming in here as we move into August, and is going to help us tap into what does matter, what is essential, and where to mentally focus. So this could also be good for mentally organizing your world. Mentally organizing your world, where you can say, all right, this is what's in front of me. This is what matters today. The rest I'm going to deal with later in the week, or I'm going to delegate it, hand it off, not worry about it right now. But this is what is essential. So know that whatever you're moving through, there are solutions to everything. There are potentials and possibilities happening in multiple directions at once. But this is designed to show us how unlimited the universe is, that even when there are these big developments and surprises and shocks, there's more that we can then work with to move the energy forward. And I think that is basically a big theme for this week. There's going to be a lot of energy moving forward, ready or not. And you're going to probably connect with a new level of truth that is maybe quieter, whispering to you, but it has a resonance or a frequency that you're feeling and sensing. So certainly make time for the quiet, the receptivity, the downtime, because that's going to help with whatever you're moving through and help you see perhaps how beautifully the universe is supporting you move ahead in perhaps one or multiple areas of your life. And if you want to get a heads up on more of these energies unfolding in August, I do have the August monthly Soul Growth Astrology program ready for you now. It's available with coupon Virgo for only $11, and we go through all the energies of August, including the very, very dynamic Aquarius Full Moon, which is actually where I think these energies peak. So yes, we're moving through the Leo new moon this week, but over the next 2 weeks, the energies continue to build and dynamically change until we get to that August 11th Aquarius full moon. So you can check out the full energies of August. I'll put the link below this podcast. And that is a program designed for you to follow along in your natal chart and look at what is happening for you every month. And before I sign off, I'm getting this beautiful, strong visual of seeing your solar plexus fully lit up with the strength and beauty of the sun, where you're really feeling the solar rays, the neutrinos, those light codes supporting you, supporting your path, your life force, supporting your energy field. And I'm seeing this energy begin in the solar plexus there, which is that third chakra, but then it's expanding out into your full aura. And that could be one way that you're actively working with the energies right now, because when you're embodying this much life force and you're truly owning your light, it's going to bring you clarity. It's going to help with remembering what matters for the long term, what matters over the course of your life. And that can be an empowering thing to connect to, because it can help us ride these changes with more ease and grace. So visualize that warmth, strength, and power of the sun truly fueling your solar plexus, then expanding it out into all of your aura, and see what comes up for you. Because also what I'm seeing is that when you work with light in this manner, you're going to see that whatever gets forced out of your aura and of your energy field could be very revealing, where there's some things expanding within you and it's forcing out anything that no longer resonates, that's no longer your truth, that no longer matters, it's no longer connected to your values. And I'm just seeing this as an organic growth process. Organic growth. So something is being revealed to us in a very powerful, organic manner that is also refueling your own zest for life, your own capacity to live life to the fullest, and to be in your power as you do so. And overall, this feels very encouraging. So I offer that to you before I sign off in today's podcast. I hope that visualization supports you and also brings you a deeper connection to what is possible for you next, because there are doorways opening, there are new paths being revealed. It's very dynamic. It's also very exciting. So hold that vibration as well, that excitement and joy for what can be created next because of how divinely loved and supported you are. So as always, thank you so much for joining me as we discuss these weekly astrological energies every Wednesday. I'll be back on Monday with another special topic in the Monday podcast. Please check out my YouTube videos as well, where we go into more particulars in your astrology chart, as well as other spiritual topics. I also have a playlist there about the channeling messages that I share, so please check those out if you're drawn to those. And you can discover more about my current offerings, teachings, and programs over at mollymccord.online. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube. Wishing you a beautiful Leo new moon and a beautiful start to August. It's a very big month, but everything is in divine order. You are always in divine order, and it's truly a beautiful time to be riding these waves on this planet. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you back here soon.